Let me start this off by saying that what I'm about to talk about is purely speculation, but I also want to invite you to contribute. If you are knowledgeable in history, film, TV, or literature, then I encourage you to share your knowledge. Inspiration for some of Deadlock's characters are very obvious. Silver is a werewolf, Victor is based on Frankenstein's monster, and both Mina and Drifter are based on vampires. But these two derive from different portrayals of vampires. The Drifter is based on the feral and animalistic vampire, the kind that hunt and feast on their prey, while Mina takes inspiration from the aristocratic vampire, the vampires who are eternally youthful and beautiful while living in luxury. Abrams shares a few visual characteristics with detectives from noir films, the long trench coat and smoking a cigarette. In addition, both Abrams and Apollo share visual characteristics of demons, including horns and vibrant skin tones. While Apollo does take offense to being called a demon, there is the possibility that the name of their home, Ixia, and its people, the Ixians, take inspiration from the Roman numeral 9, written out as IX. Dante's Inferno describes the ninth and final circle of hell as a frozen wasteland where Satan himself resides. Despite the abundance of robots throughout media, I do not think that Bebop is based on any of them. Instead, Bebop may be inspired by retrofuturism, an art style that was evolving throughout the 20th century. Steampunk, atom punk, and cyberpunk are all examples of retrofuturism. Within these many art pieces, robots can be found, but I could not find any that bared any resemblance to Bebop, which is why I suggest that Bebop is meant to be a tribute to that era of art. Deadlock may have plenty of shapeshifters, but Billy is not one of them. He is strictly a man with a goat's head. Goats are a recurring symbol in Satanism. While Christianity and its many branches will claim that the devil Satan is the source of evil in the world, there are those who believe that Satan, or Lucifer, is a pioneer for rebellion and personal freedom, which does fit with Billy's fashion, being based on the rebellious punk movement in the 1970s. I'll admit that I had a difficult time finding anything concrete regarding Calico. She has a color scheme similar to Father Pucci from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which may or may not be intentional, and she's a former member of the Baxter Society, where Baxter means baker. The only source of inspiration that I can maybe draw from are tales amongst various African tribes of people who can shapeshift into leopards or lions. Except here, Calico is turning into her cat Ava. Celeste is an odd case. Her official story emphasizes her being a unicorn taking a human form, which might overshadow the historical context to her design. In the late 1800s and early 20th century, women with tattoos were made notable appearances in the circus and so-called freak shows. I could not find anything regarding what performances they did within these circuses, but it is known that their appearances did bring in some extra revenue. Probably because during this time, tattoos in the Western world were a rarity. And to show these tattoos, women often wore revealing and scandalous outfits. While Celeste does have her chest and abdomen exposed, her gameplay is that of an acrobat, providing a blend of the circus performer and the tattooed anomaly. The Doorman is an Eldritch god in human form who interacts with humanity. This perfectly matches up with Nyarlathotep? Nyarlathotep? I'm just going to call him Nyarl, or Gnarl. This perfectly matches up with Gnarl, a messenger god from the Cthulhu mythos. Like all Cthulian deities, their true forms are abominations beyond human comprehension. Knowing that, Gnarl chooses to disguise himself as a human and interacts with the human race, sometimes gaining new followers in the process, as those followers can confidently say that they have met their god. I believe this one is pure coincidence. Dynamo is a scientist whose field of study costed him his body, and he now lives his life inside of plates of steel. Alphonse Elric was a child studying his father's books regarding alchemy, chemistry, and biology. These scientific fields also costed him his body and now lives with his soul attached to an empty suit of armor. I do think the comparisons between Dynamo and Alphonse Elric are fairly minimal, which is why I think their backstories are just coincidence. To my findings, Darcy Graves is wholly original, but I do find a funny comparison regarding her mentor the Lich. It is possible that the Lich takes loose inspiration from Harry Potter's Lord Voldemort. The Lich is interested in both Abram's Tome and Kelvin's Stone. Similarly, Voldemort was interested in the Philosopher's Stone, or the Sorcerer's Stone in America, and his magic-infused diary. Like Dynamo, this source of inspiration is likely unintentional. It is known that Grey Talon is a descendant of one of many American native tribes, but which one, we do not know. But what is known is the prevalence of owls within these native cultures. For some tribes, the owl is symbolic of death, while for others, it is symbolic of wisdom. Hayes is an assassin who is able to enter the dreams of those who sleep. The ability to travel and witness people's dreams is reminiscent of Freddy Krueger. This is also probably a coincidence, but seeing how many characters in Deadlock pay homage to the horror genre, there is a chance that this one actually is intentional. Holiday is the fictional granddaughter of the real-life Doc Holliday. Doc Holliday was a dentist whose story was fictionalized into an accomplished gunslinger. It appears that Deadlock is leaning into this fictional rendition as Holiday herself is hunting down the group who killed her grandfather, whereas the real-life Doc Holliday died of tuberculosis. Infernus works at a bar named Jezebel, which shares its name with the 1930s film Jezebel and the Queen of Israel mentioned in the Book of Kings. Jezebel, the bar, is going through financial troubles and may be put out of business. Otherwise, the usage of the Jezebel name seems to be only a reference and nothing more. Ivy is a gargoyle who sprung to life when hearing cries for help. The only comparison I could find would be Disney's animated series Gargoyles, as the leading characters are also stone gargoyles who come to life. Kelvin is a scientist exploring alien activity within the Arctic. A similar premise can be seen in John Carpenter's The Thing, which is already based on the 1930s novella Who Goes There. The aliens presented in The Thing and Who Goes There are similar to eldritch horrors seen in the Cthulhu mythos, beings whose physical bodies are beyond human comprehension. Lady Geist is one I struggled with. I was thinking that perhaps she was just based on witches or Baba Yaga, but I couldn't find anything concrete. But I am interested in the cover art for Lady Geist's visual novel, and it is very reminiscent of vintage book covers. I think this cover from Nancy Drew, illustrated by Rudy Nappy in the 1960s, is a good comparison. Both covers are dominated by a select few colors, and there is plenty of empty space surrounding the subject. I got nothing. At this point, it is known that McGinnis is modeled after Rosie the Riveter, also known as the We Can Do It lady, so nothing more needs to be said. Unfortunately, I am not knowledgeable enough in Arabic folklore, so I can't make any solid guesses as to what may have inspired Mirage's design or backstory. I got nothing. I don't think Paige is a reference to any particular person in history or fiction, but instead her dialogue references classic literature from Arthurian legends to Shakespeare. Also, her name is a pun for the word page. I got nothing. This one is likely a stretch. While I don't believe that Pocket is based on any person or character, the briefcase could be inspired from the movie Pulp Fiction. For both Pocket and Pulp Fiction, there is a mystery as to what could be inside the briefcase. Although in-game we see that Pocket's briefcase holds a ghostly frog, there might be more beyond this. In various cultures, there are spirits who visit your dreams. Rem is not based on any particular one, but instead just takes inspiration from the concept. This one is a coincidence. Both Seven and Willie Francis share stories about surviving the electric chair. But the big difference between these two is that Seven is a criminal, while Willie Francis is an innocent bystander who was blamed for a crime that he had never committed. I think Shiv is only meant to be an acknowledgement of the pompadour hairstyle that became popular in the 1950s, although it had already existed for decades beforehand. Also, Shiv's attire gives him a certain energy that can also be seen in thug and rebellious characters such as Johnny from The Wild One and Matsunaga from Drunken Angel. There's Ian Sinclair, Sinclair Lewis, who are both writers, whereas Sinclair in Deadlock is a magician, so I don't have anything beyond this. I think Venator is here to provide that religious crusader and monster hunter power fantasy. We already have media of religious individuals hunting vampires and other creatures, but Venator is here to hunt Lovecraftian gods instead. The antagonist to Vindicta's story is John Hawthorne, the name of a real-life judge who sentenced many people to death during the Salem witch trials. Very much like Holiday, Vindicta's backstory is a fictional twist on real-life people and events. Flubber? Viper is due for an updated model, and looking at her current model, and even her leaked new model, I can't come up with anything solid, other than snakes being associated with crime in the Western genre. Warden is also due for a new model, as his official backstory has nothing to do with him being a police officer. Even the Deadlock wiki says that he's not a police officer, but he does have his eyes covered by his hat, which might be a subtle nod to the soldier in Team Fortress 2. With her hat and attire, it is possible that Wraith is partially inspired by the crime lord Al Capone. Although Wraith having these marionette puppet arms underneath her jacket is original to the character, nor does she smoke a cigar like Al Capone does. Also, the Thompson submachine gun, otherwise known as the Tommy gun, is associated with crimes and gangs. Yamato is also due for an updated model, but I think she might be a subtle reference to the film director Akira Kurosawa. Kurosawa is remembered for his samurai films, which often overshadow his noir films featuring crime and the Yakuza. While she is dressed in samurai armor, Yamato's story is about her establishing a Yakuza clan in New York.